Welcome to News at Noon. I'm Patrice Johnson, Chairman of Michigan Fair Elections and Pure Integrity Michigan Elections, and this is a Pure Integrity Michigan Elections broadcast. So I wanted to start by just giving people an announcement that Michigan Fair Elections published just yesterday a Parity report. So hopefully you're seeing the image of the front cover. This analysis was very important, and I want to thank Judy Bennett, who has been doing FOIAs very expertly and making a lot of difference, because we took eight municipalities within Michigan and then asked them questions specifically about, during the last election, how many Republican election inspectors did they hire and how many Democrat election inspectors, and they gave us, we were asking for the breakdown of those, of the election inspectors. Well, what we learned was not only that the breakdown was astounding in that Republicans were never overrepresented, they were only fairly represented in one municipality, and they were underrepresented in 7 of the others. We also learned that our FOIAs were not acknowledged. And FOIA stands for Freedom of Information Act. And it's a federal law that the government needs to be transparent on something unless it's private information. This is not private information, this is public information. And what we learned, for example, was, now I'll take you through those. Thanks, Jeff has put up the chart. But if you take a look at Ann Arbor City, you have 78, almost 79% Democrat election inspectors were hired compared to 19%. And if you look over at Detroit, 71% of all the election inspectors hired were Democrat compared to Republicans. And the only, well, Grand Rapids, which we'll talk about in a second, but Grand Rapids had the same issue. The only municipality that we sampled that had an equal number was Sterling Heights. So Jeff, if you can call up the next slide, I'd like to show that, please. This shows an interesting pattern, because taking the data from just one election, people could say, well, it's an anomaly. What happened is that we have been gathering this information since 2020. And if you look, in 2020, the Democrats were 62% compared to Republicans at 3%. And then you have in 2022, it is 64% to 9%. You rounding up to 10%. And then 2022, you have 65 to 7%. And 2024, we already talked about, was, in this case, it was 83% to 11%. And that was in the primary. And then the general, it was basically the same situation. And then if you also take a look at the asterisk number there, that's 16.2%, that's the other category. That's the yellow category. Those are people that either didn't fill in the blank in terms of their party affiliation, or they said they were undecided. And the law says that the clerks are to have, as nearly as possible, the representation of both parties, the two parties. So the yellow looks, it just looks suspicious, because it looks like maybe that blue line would have gone further north if it weren't for the yellow lines, soften them up a little bit. Thank you. Next chart, please, Jeff. This one coming up is interesting, because I wanted to show, and also let me thank Elizabeth Bonner for helping with these charts. She created the charts. Judy collected the data, provided the data, and Elizabeth Bonner made the charts. The green line here, we all looked at the chart earlier. Now this is the green line represents how long it took those municipalities to respond to our FOIA request, which, remember, is a federal act requiring freedom of information to be shared with the public. So here you have Ann Arbor taking 52 days. Ann Arbor Township Ann Arbor City took 52 days. Ann Arbor Township turned it around in 2 days. Dearborn gave it to us the same day we asked for it. And then you have Detroit, 115 days. And way up in the hinterlands, we have Grand Rapids, which responded after we basically said, you know, there's a report coming out and you're really not going to like the data because we didn't have the data, but we had a big 0 in there for non-response. And then Lansing took 15 days, so they would be within the realm of compliance. And then you have Sterling Heights, which was compliant within 7 days. So Sterling Heights kind of comes out as superstar in that they complied within the dates that they were required by law. Law gives people 20 municipalities, government agencies, 20 days. And then Warren is another one that took 86 days, and it's way out of balance too. So how it basically broke down to, there were four municipalities that came in that were compliant and 4 that were not. Is there, yeah, there's another chart, I think, if you'd show this one.
Hold on a second. Pressed the wrong one. There. Okay.
It's
Sorry
a
about that.
sideways chart. Yeah, if you can just bring up the one on the bottom. This shows the comparison of the days to respond to FOIAs. And so the folks in green were the municipalities that replied right away and were compliant with federal law. And the ones in yellow, we put them in alert status. They were not compliant. They did respond. And then you've got Detroit and Grand Rapids that were off in another world. Now, in Grand Rapids' defense, they said that they had said that there might be a charge, and they didn't see it. They say they have no record of our responses, but Judy kept good records and shows that we did respond, and then we responded again, and then we responded again, and followed up numerous times. So there could have been a software issue, and I'm sure Grand Rapids will want to find out what happened there. So that's the end of that. But I wanted to let people know that this was I think this was a major report that should have a lot of impact on the state to see how it's performing in response to the law for both equal numbers of election inspectors, which are also called poll workers, and also in response to Freedom of Information Act requests. Go ahead, Dee. You're muted, Dee.
Just a question. We have an unverified 7345 ending in 79. I'm not quite sure who that is, if they could identify themselves and also mute themselves because they're unmuted at the moment.
Oh, that's the background noise we're getting. Okay. Also, Isaac, Jude Wells is having trouble getting in. She can't get in for some reason. So if you can help her, that would be great. All right. So now with that, I want to move on to our FOIA expert. We have an attorney. Tom Lambert was with us before at one time, and it seems so appropriate today to have him on after the report comes out. So Tom is looking at the potential for following up on a litigative basis with these breaches. So Tom, you want to tell us a little bit about FOIA laws and the issues that you see in the Parity report?
Very quickly before he starts, just to let you know, as an FYI, Michelle Reika, the Sterling Heights City Clerk, is the president of the Michigan Associations of Municipal Clerks. Just a little FYI for you.
Well, good. Setting a good example. So yes, go ahead, Tom.
Sure, and thanks for having me back again. Just very quickly, there's a federal version of FOIA and there's a state version of FOIA.
Oh.
Not every state calls their version FOIA. Some of them are right-to-know laws. Michigan, we call ours FOIA, and the federal version applies to federal agencies. In Michigan, our state one is how we get records from the state and local agencies. You see that FOIA compliance is all across the board, and those of you who have submitted FOIA requests have experienced that yourselves in probably so many different ways. One of the issues that you often run into is the estimation of fees, how much it's going to cost. I would be interested to see some of the estimates you got in fees for all of those, whether some public bodies just gave you the documents outright, whereas others have estimated, I'm just guessing, significant sums. Just recently myself, I sent some FOIA requests around to different public bodies in the Grand Rapids area for something not related at all to what you're doing. Some public bodies provided the records right away for free. Other public bodies said this is going to cost literally hundreds of dollars, even close to $1,000. Again, some public bodies provided them immediately. Others said we're going to take 8 to 9 months before we can provide these. How you fight back against some of that stuff is difficult in the initial stages. And the reason why is because when you get those original estimates, they're just that. They're estimates. And to fight back against an estimate, you have to show that the estimate is not made in good faith. And again, it's only an estimate. They don't have to be exact. A lot of times when I talk with clients who get a bad estimate, we have to see how clearly outrageous is it. If it's at least close enough, oftentimes the advice is to move forward with it and then fight on the back end if necessary. Sometimes public bodies will have a large estimate in the beginning, but when they produce the records, the final charge is very small or nothing because they say, our estimate was very high, but actually this only took us a short amount of time. Here you go, don't worry about it. Sometimes that's not the case, and the charge is still significant or sometimes even higher. But on the back end, once they've done the work, that's where it's much easier to fight back because everything is known. We know who did the work. We know how much time it took. We know what records they're going to provide, and we know what records they decided not to provide. When you are assessing fees, this is an area where public bodies just kind of do whatever they want, not necessarily what the law requires. I'm not going to tell you that's inherently bad or wrong because sometimes it works in your favor. And if you are just looking to get some records and you're not that big of a stickler for it, awesome. Go through the process, get what you're looking for. If everybody's happy, excellent. Sometimes it's a problem. And sometimes public bodies definitely use this process to slow it down, get in your way, and deter you from getting the records that you want. I absolutely know that public bodies know any fee whatsoever that they charge, even just a couple dollars, increases the abandonment rate of FOIA requests. And so that's why they put that roadblock in there to keep you from getting information. Not everyone, but I know it definitely happens. So a couple things to think about. Do not assume that public bodies have the right to charge a fee. They don't. They think they do. Many think they do. They don't. If you go look at Michigan's law, Section 4 of the law, if you're familiar with how MCLs work, it's MCL 15.234. It's Section 4 of the law again. That's the section that details how fees are charged. It's rather long because public bodies have to jump through a lot of hoops if they want to charge fees. It starts off right in the beginning that the public body may charge a fee if it does certain things. So right there, you see that public bodies do not have a right. They can earn the privilege to charge a fee. And you go down through the section and you can see some of the things that the public body has to do. Subsection 2, they have to itemize it on their standardized form. A number of public bodies don't do this. They'll just shoot you back an email, say, yeah, this is probably going to cost $500. Okay, but you need to itemize this out into each portion of these charges. You need to do it in increments no less than 15 minutes. If you're going to charge fringe benefits, it can't be any more than the actual cost of fringe benefits. Sometimes you'll see a 1.5 modifier on their rate for those of you who have submitted FOIA requests. Fringe benefits max out at 50%. That's the 1.5 modifier. I have yet to see a public body where the person who's doing the work, the fringe benefits they get actually equals 50% of their pay. So if you see a public body automatically adding a 1.5 modifier, most likely they're adding too much because that increase cannot exceed the actual cost of the fringe benefits. Few things to look out for that are dead giveaways that they're doing things wrong. The next subsection, we're not going to talk about every single one, but these are just the big ones that you can look out for right away. The next subsection, subsection 3, this has been in the law for a really long time, decades. And yet, a couple public bodies do this now, but for a while, I went for years without seeing a single public body pay attention to this subsection. And it's critical. It says that a public body shall not charge a fee for locating, redaction, all that kind of stuff, unless failure to do so would result in an unreasonably high cost for the public body, and the public body specifically identifies the nature of the unreasonably high cost in the particular instance. And it's due to the nature of the request. So it's not something that can be presumed in every request. They have to show why your particular request is going to result not just in any cost, but an unreasonably high cost to the public body. There's plenty of case law on this, that number is different for every public body. If you have a public body like, let's say, the Attorney General's office, who gets tons of them, that number is going to be a lot higher. That threshold before they can charge a fee is going to be a lot higher. If you have a small township who maybe gets one a year, that threshold is going to be smaller. But if they don't do this, if they just completely forget to say that, okay, here's our cost, and this is why it's going to result in an unreasonably high cost to us if we don't charge it, if they fail to do that part, they can't charge any fee. It is a critical thing for them to do, and yet I see so many completely omit it, and it's always very surprising. We're not going to go into, again, every little thing. Deposits, they can ask for 50% deposit, but they cannot ask you to pay in full before getting the records. There's some case law on this that we're working on. It's not published, but there's some changes that went into effect in 2015 that really pushed this. And I recommend that people do not pay in full before you get the records, because you don't know what you're going to get. You don't know if everything they're going to give you is exactly what you asked for and they did an amazing job, which definitely happens. Some of these places do a great job. Or you don't know if you just paid $1,000 for a bunch of documents that have absolutely nothing to do with your request, and they're full of illegal redactions that you now need to go fight back on and say, I'm not paying for this kind of stuff. Pay the deposit if you want to pay the deposit, but I recommend, again, withholding final payment until you get the records and you say, yes, these are what I asked for. There's other things in there that you can look to, late fees, if they fail to respond, all these different types of things. But I'm trying to give you some easy things to look for, to push back on right away for the estimate and before you get that final bill. And again, once you get the final bill, then we can see whether things are concrete. We know what has happened, and it's a lot easier for you to fight back at the end. I'm happy to stop there and take any questions that you might have.
Okay, thank you, Tom. I see Mark Faith's hand is up. Appreciate what you just said. It was very helpful.
No, I don't.
No, that's a residual. Okay. Okay, I see Dee Davy has her hand up. Go ahead, Dee.
So, thank you so much, Tom, for that. I have a question. If a public body fails to comply with Section 3 and state why the fee is so high, explicitly state why this, could they not just, if we point that out to them, well, they'll just go, oh, we sent you the wrong estimate. Here's the correct one, and get away with it.
Yeah, yes, they can. But the time ticks by, doesn't it? And I've done this with plenty of public bodies where they will send in their estimate on the very last day of their deadline, right before the wire comes in. And I look at it the next day when I get to it, which is then beyond their deadline, and I see, look, hey, you failed to do this. And I'll respond to them usually that day. Sometimes it's a couple of days later if I'm busy, and say, okay, well, under the law, you have to do this stuff, and you failed to do it. So you can either now give me the records because you failed to earn the ability to charge any fee whatsoever, or if you'd like to describe to me, you think you can describe to me how you meet this, then please go ahead. But make sure you honor subsection 9. Subsection 9 is the part where they have to discount your fee by 5% per day that they are late. So again, let's just say on the 1st, they give you the invalid estimate. It takes them a couple days to fix their problem like you're asking about. Well, that's a couple days where they now have to reduce the fee by 5% per day, assuming they're late in that time.
Thank you very much for that additional information. I didn't know that we could actually hold them to discounting on time.
And if I may, this is something that's not in the law, that it's a tool I use frequently. You have the request, and then when things go wrong, you can file an administrative appeal to them, or you can go to court. In the case of a fee, you have to appeal first if they have an appeal process, and if they don't, then you can go to court.
Okay, so
Nothing in the law says.
I'm sorry, I'm going to have
No,
to cut us off so we can move on. But this has been really
five
helpful.
seconds real quick.
Sure.
One of the things you can do is you can just email them back and say, hey, I think you made a mistake here. Can you please fix this? That's always an option to you, and oftentimes it works.
Great. Thank you so much. Wonderful. Well, we appreciate the opportunity to work with you. So thank you. All right. Next up, we have Fani Mantravati, and Fani testified before the Michigan House Elections Integrity Committee just this week. He did a fabulous job, and I asked him if he could come on and show us a portion of what he presented, because we don't have time for him to do the whole thing here. But I wanted folks to see some of the things he presented. So take it away here, please, Fani.
Thank you, Patrice. So glad to see you all here today again, and just going to share my screen, go through a part of the presentation that I used, and the whole entire testimony, I designed it in my mind to center around transparency, because as I got into this journey of election integrity, close on the the wake of the 2020 November 3rd election, many people did not even know, even I didn't know, that there's such a thing called FOIA. So that is a very valuable tool in the hands of a citizen to hold their government accountable by using the data that you could ask for as public records, and you have a right to know. So you get that data, and then you could use your analysis. In my case, we built Check My Vote, so we could bring the voter rolls to the doorstep for the people. And my involvement with election integrity was when I came to the problem initially, in 2020, 2021, a lot of the evidence was largely in the form of a, circumstantial, if you recall the TCF pizza boxes, or it was theoretical. Even if you look at anomalies in the statistical trends and how, ballots got showed up, they were not evenly distributed. It's all like high level statistical. And I saw a need to look at hard fact-based evidence as present in public records, specifically the voter rolls. So I obtained voter rolls, and also another motivator was to check the disposition of my own voting history, of which there should be none, because I wasn't a citizen back then, a US citizen back then, and I'm not a citizen even now. But then I wanted to check if there's any record of me voting, because it looks like the system is somehow built in such a way that allows for ineligible people to vote. So it was a concern back then for me. It is still a concern for me right now. But that's why I started to look for my record. But obviously, I also found 2 people registered to vote on my address at the time, and got them removed from the local clerk in Meridian Township. But then a lot of people got interested in checking their addresses. So slowly it started to become that, instead of me doing it by hand, let's build a website. So essentially bring the voter rolls to the doorsteps of Michiganders here, and they can do, check their addresses and do what needs to be done. So it kind of grew organically as people gave me feedback. A lot of the volunteers, we work with Souls to the Rolls right at the beginning, at the outset with Patrice. I remember it was incredible. So they gave me feedback as to how about there's a, add a button here to do that, add a button there to do that. So it kind of grew organically through the ideas and the objective thinking of people, the problem solving mindset of our amazing volunteers. A lot of feedback came through, and the site came to be as it stands today, and it's still improving. It's never a perfect solution, but this is the agenda I followed for my presentation. That was my involvement, and then I touched on transparency, because right now we're seeing that the pushback from the people who are not willing to release open records is they're using FOIA as a tool to somehow chip away at our efforts that we're trying to get voter rolls to be accurate, and while they're trying to say no, we're not going to give you this data. So that's where the struggle is right now. So I kind of stressed on the importance of transparency, and let's also note that transparency is needed regardless of whether there are problems or not, because transparency favors the truth. And more so today, transparency is needed because of 2 reasons. Number one, lack of transparency is causing loss of public trust in election outcomes. and election outcomes affect everybody, whether you're a Democrat, Republican, Independent, doesn't matter. It affects everybody. It's not a partisan issue. So the second reason is that all of the abnormalities that have come to surface over the past years with respect to specifically voter rolls as to a deceased person voting or what have you, has raised questions. And instead of answering those questions, we are getting pushback on open records requests. So that raises even more questions. And this is a dangerous trajectory to get to, where people are losing faith in election outcomes as well as their public officials. So our goal here at Check My Vote has always been to restore accuracy to voter rolls and thereby gain public trust, or work towards restoring faith in elections by restoring accuracy to voter rolls. At that point, I kind of went into go into the examples that just skimming the surface of all possible categories that we found abnormalities in over the past few years that we've been working on this. And I took the example of the deceased individual who was born in 1850, Jason Lemoyne Daniel. He was age of 170 years old at the time he voted in the 2020 election, November 3rd. So that was, we pull up the record in checkmyvote.org. You'll be able to see the history as well as some of the information about that individual. As you see, challenge status, but still no good because 170, right now it's 175 years old. Year of birth, 1850. And you see that this individual voted in November 2020 election. And as of March 2021, we started to get only information that whether an individual voted or not the method of voting. As of up until February 2024, you see A, which means this individual voted absentee, or possibly understandable to some because he was too old to walk to the polls at 170 years old. So, but then you see the clear lack of transparency right after this point, that they stopped giving us that field of information, which is important because a lot of people in Michigan have brought to my attention, or many people's attention, that they see that their disposition of their voting record shows as absentee, but in fact they know they have voted in person, or sometimes it flip-flops between absentee and in person, and history keeps changing. And that is also unacceptable. Any objective thinker would say history is set. What happened happened.
Fani, are
Doesn't
you
change.
advancing your slides, because we still see deceased and duplicates on your slide?
Oh, well, I did not advance my slide, but I
Okay.
actually shared my shared the Check My Vote screen. So that's what I had done. So I'll just go back there and share again maybe, and then we'll show the same screen that I was showing here. This is what I was showing a second ago. So, went to this, now you're seeing Check My Vote, right? So
Okay.
I pulled up this 3602 Race Street address in Flint, Michigan, and searched for that address. Now the search is much faster. It
You don't
auto-populates.
have to go through it again now, but
Yeah, gotcha. Yeah,
I'll tell
so
you next
that's
time. Thanks.
Yep. So at this point, I was going through the abnormalities, and towards the end, we'll come back to transparency again and how they are impeding our solution to the problem, because we are bringing a solution to the table, and they're impeding the solution with other kinds of problems by chipping away at transparency. So that can be reserved for the next, next session, maybe news at noon. So I can close off here for now. Is that okay?
Oh, sure. Yeah. Well, thank you, Fani. Very helpful. And I really think it's very interesting when Jason Lemoyne was 170 years old and still voting, and you think it's because he probably couldn't walk to the polls. He must have done it absentee. Thank you. It's good to have a sense of humor, right?
Right. Yep. And many people, we couldn't even contact them to get their permission to use their identities on our app on the testimony, because they don't exist. And you cannot intimidate a non-existing person. There's no voter intimidation.
Thank you. All right. So next up, now we're going to switch gears a little bit. Still talking about transparency, though, because we're going to talk about ranked choice voting and how it's coming. It's got its eyes are trained on Michigan, and ranked choice voting is very non-transparent. So we're going to start off with Jason Sneed, and then we're going to go to Mark Zulum, who is coming to us from California. Jason is president, of Honest Elections Project. He does a fabulous job, and he's going to talk to us today about some of the issues. So go ahead there, Jason.
Thank you, Patrice. It's good to be with you. Let me share my screen here so I can just walk you all through exactly what we're talking about when we're talking about ranked choice voting. The good news is that with all the travel that I've done over the last couple of years, there are more and more folks that know what we're talking about, but it's always good to give a refresher, especially since Michigan is going to be targeted most likely with a ranked choice voting ballot measure, and signature gathering could begin as soon as next month. So it's very good to be able to share this with you and show why ranked choice voting is not a good fit for Michigan. So just as that refresher, everyone would generally recognize the sample ballot here that you see on your page. This is a sample ballot that was prepared for my state of Virginia, but it looks basically the same for everybody in a normal election. You've got various candidates in a race, you vote for one and you move on. With ranked choice voting, you get rid of that system and you replace it with a system where now you're asked to rank multiple candidates for every race. And then you compute winners by redistributing votes from poor performing candidates to each voter's next highest pick. So what that looks like in practice is that you would get a ballot like this, and you would be asked to choose your first, your second, your third, your fourth, or your fifth candidate. And then they would gather up all of the ballots, and if nobody gets over 50% of the first place vote, then they identify the candidate who got the fewest first place votes, eliminate that person, and redistribute the ballot to that voter's next highest pick. So again, looking at our sample ballot here, let's say that they did that calculation and they discovered that your number one pick was actually the poorest performing candidate. So what happens now? Well, they eliminate that person and they shift your vote to the second place candidate, and then they rerun the numbers. And again, if nobody gets over 50% of the remaining vote, then they will identify the poorest performing candidate and do that process again. So let's say here, hypothetically, your next highest pick was also eliminated. So now your vote actually in the final analysis got counted for your third place choice. And they would say that the person who won this election won with a majority of the votes cast. But as you can see, that majority is a phony one. It's artificial. It's calculated by redistributing votes, and it's based on counting second and third place votes. That is exactly what, Patrice, you were talking about a second ago when you said that this is not a transparent process. It's actually a confusing black box that turns winners into losers and losers into winners. From an election integrity and administration perspective, there are huge issues with ranked choice voting. You know, it is extremely difficult to administer. There is going to be no such thing as election night reporting anymore. Delays are inevitable with ranked choice voting, and we've seen this in jurisdiction after jurisdiction that has tried it. It makes tabulation a challenge, especially if you use voting equipment from different vendors across a state. You know, some states have different counties or jurisdictions that use equipment from HART or ES&S, and you can't always marry those results together. Recounts are equally problematic, especially when you consider, you know, most states have laws that say the result, if it's within a point or 0.5%, you get a guaranteed recount. But now think back to that order of elimination. Each of those rounds, does that count if the person that got eliminated first was within a point of the person who got eliminated second? So now each race potentially means multiple recounts all the way through that pipeline. Auditing elections is a challenge, and it gives secretaries of state and election officials extraordinary rulemaking authority, because ranked choice voting is one of those things that sounds sort of, well, we'll just change our elections to do preference voting. But then you have to resolve all of these issues. How do you do the tabulation? How do you handle the recount? What election equipment are you going to use? What software is that system going to run on? What are the new timelines and deadlines and training and so forth? There's all of these issues that begin to add up with ranked choice voting, which is why in state after state, we've actually seen even many election officials on the left come out against ranked choice voting. So there's all sorts of problems, but the lack of transparency actually leads to some situations where you can even certify the wrong winner in an election. And this actually happened in 2022 in Oakland, California. A school board election wound up having to be overturned because there were two problems in this election. The first was that the ballot was so complicated with ranked choice voting that hundreds of voters didn't know that they were supposed to rank a candidate in first place. So they started ranking in second place. And the second problem was that under the law, those ballots were still supposed to be counted. You were just supposed to essentially skip ahead and treat those second place votes as first place votes. but election officials programmed the tabulating equipment wrong, and all those ballots got thrown out. And they didn't catch the mistake until they had already certified the election. In fact, it took 2 months in an outside audit to even discover that there was a problem, and it took 2 more months and a lawsuit to seat the proper winner. And again, this mistake almost went completely undetected because of the complexity of ranked choice voting. So as you're hearing more about RCV coming to Michigan, you're going to hear a lot of promises made. You're going to hear promises that it's going to improve turnout in your elections. But we have seen time and time again that this is absolutely false. We have seen in places like Alaska, when they use ranked choice voting, you actually had the lowest turnout election in state history, right? Since Alaska became a state, when they brought ranked choice voting on, that was actually the lowest turnout election in state history. You're going to hear that it's going to lead to more moderate politics and nicer campaigns. But again, the data says the opposite. When Maine switched to ranked choice voting, a study from MIT actually found that there was more negative campaigning and more out-of-state dark money coming in to do that campaigning in the state of Maine after they switched to ranked choice voting than before. And it's problems like this that explain why so many places that have tried ranked choice voting have actually gone on to repeal it. In fact, at the beginning of this year, we had 11 states that had passed statutory bans, or in Missouri's case, a constitutional amendment to prohibit ranked choice voting. And last year, voters in 6 states rejected a $100 million national push to bring RCV to their states through the ballot process. So this is an extraordinary set of momentum. And then this year, we have added even more states to the list of places that have banned ranked choice voting. But as you're going to be seeing over the next month, this group Rank My Vote is nevertheless planning to make a state push in Michigan with the ballot initiative process to bring ranked choice voting to both your primary and your general elections. And that's going to lead to all sorts of issues, everything that we've talked about, plus using it in the primaries risks delays. And you all have a very late primary, which means that you might actually wind up seeing delays in ballot mailings. And that runs into UACONVA deadlines with having to mail ballots 45 days before a general election. So there's lots of issues here. And I'm looking forward to working with you, Patrice, and the rest of the folks in Michigan to help try to defeat this initiative before it can get on the ballot. It looks like there's going to be a push to bring the 100-word summary for the ballot initiative to the Michigan Board of Canvassers in June. They delayed by a month. I think that's actually a good sign. Another good sign is that the committee has not done very well with fundraising. And this may be because of all of the defeats last year. You know, most of the major donors lost substantial amounts of money, $100 million overall, and they may be a little skittish about continuing to push initiatives this year. So we're planning to engage through Honest Elections Project and our Stop RCV Coalition to help you all defeat this, hopefully before it gets on the ballot. But again, just in summary, reasons why we should not have ranked choice voting anywhere. It makes it harder to vote and easier to cheat. Most places that try this go on to repeal it or reject it outright. It's harder to count and harder to audit, so it is absolutely not transparent, and it turns losers into winners, which again is why so many folks think that this is just a bad choice for their states. So Patrice, thanks for letting me give a quick presentation. Sorry to abridge it a little bit, but I wanted to be conscious of everyone's time.
Well, thank you. This was fabulous. And people are asking if we could have a copy of your presentation.
Oh, absolutely. I'd be more than happy to share that. I'll shoot that over to you.
Sure. Thank you. Thank you very much. And I'll put it in the RCV folder in Basecamp project. So yeah, thank you very much, Jason. Michigan Fair Elections is really taking the lead on it here in our state. We've got a group that meets once or twice a week. We've got a resolution that we drafted for all the counties to adopt. We've got palm cards in the making. We're working on a special website, and we have a clerk letter for the clerks to sign in opposition. And we've got clerks that are willing to sponsor that. So I'm hoping that we're having an effect, and that maybe that's why they didn't bring it up in May. Maybe they're not getting money because the president stopped the U.S. aid money from coming out of the country and then coming back in. Who knows?
That's a possibility. And
possibility.
Speaking of President Trump, at the rally that he did in Michigan a few weeks back, he did say that you should never let ranked choice voting come to Michigan, and I happen to agree with that sentiment 100%.
Yes, and Jeff, let me ask you to call that up and we'll play it at the end here, okay? So we can play that video. That's a lovely one. It's just 30 seconds or so, but it's great. So thank you. Thanks, Jason. Now, in following on to you, we have Mark Zulum here with us, and he's from California, and he's here to talk to us specifically about ranked choice voting in California and what it's meant to California. So take it away here, Mark.
Good afternoon, everyone. My name is Mark Zulum, and yes, I am from California and Oakland, California. Thank you, Jason, for sharing about that. And can you see my screen, Jeff and Patrice?
No, we're seeing a weird screen.
Okay, let me.
Just try it again. Somehow it came up with the boxes of the WebEx folks.
Okay.
We're getting like a picture-in-picture. Isaac, do you have any idea what's going on with this? I've got
Yes.
Isaac working on another problem too. Go ahead, Isaac.
So when you pull up the sharing menu via the browser, it should give you the option to show a separate program instead of showing the tab, but it defaults to the web browser tab.
Do you see it now?
So we don't see it. You'll have to stop sharing and then start sharing again, but then change it to the application you want to share instead of the browser tab.
Or what we could do is you send them to Jeff. Jeff, maybe you should call him up.
Okay, I got it. Here we go. I think this will
Okay.
work. Okay, got it?
I did it, yes.
There we go.
You
All
did
right.
it.
Okay, sorry about that. I don't use WebEx very often. So again, I'm from California, Alameda County, and Oakland, City of Oakland is a huge problem with ranked choice voting, which Jason covered briefly one of our elections. So what I like to do is cover some of the lessons learned and help give you some advice on how to prepare. So I will cover some history in the San Francisco Bay Area is where I'm located. I like to focus on that. And what's been happening is the fooling or the tricking of the voters over the last 20 plus years, by the way. City and county examples, I'll quickly go through that and why RCV is still a disaster, which Jason's touched on some of those, and then also a strategy to oppose, and then we'll go into questions if we have time. So fooling the cities by the bay. You probably know Journey, the band, when the lights go down in the city. Well, the lights have gone down in the cities in San Francisco County, Oakland, and San Leandro and Albany. They have all implemented ranked choice voting in the Bay Area. Fair Vote is very much been smoozing of the city, county levels, and also what we call our county clerks are called register of voters. Okay, it's key to get in there before they do. The lobbyists have, believe it or not, Silicon Valley have started the software programming development in the early 90s. And also those same lobbyists are still very active in the Bay Area. It's amazing. And also California Governor Jerry Brown in 2016, he repealed or he vetoed ranked choice voting, which was pretty much amazing at the state level. And then again, California Governor Gavin Newsom also vetoed that in 2019. So we averted a disaster, if you will. In 2006, Oakland voted, the citizens were tricked in 68.7% of the vote to implement ranked choice voting. In 2010, Jean Kwan, who was not expected to be a winner at all, got 51% of the vote. She did not achieve what I call a true majority. And it's a travesty. Here's a quote by one of the Oakland officials at that time in 2010. It's a travesty that a candidate that wins 78% of the precincts and leads by more than 11,000 votes after the first round with a margin of nearly 10% loses the election. In any other contest, it would be a landslide. win, not an election loss. Ranked choice voting is an injustice, and Oakland will pay the price. Well, guess what? In 2012, they tried to repeal it. They were unsuccessful, and Oakland continues to suffer to this day. The example that Jason provided, here's the actual ballot. There was only 3 candidates, and I want you to note, this is for the school district 4. There, you note right away, there's a write-in candidate. Ranked choice voting software is incapable of handling write-ins, at least where we're located. We use Dominion in Alameda County, and you also notice they gave 5 choices, but there's only 3 candidates. So, we, as Jason pointed out, there were suspended ballots. In this case, you see the first roll or first choice is left blank. That led to a number of suspended ballots. So the Board of Supervisors at the county level ordered a recount. A superior judge decided to do a review, which is not the same. Lawsuits, as Jason mentioned, lawsuits initiated. There was a huge uproar, complaints soared. The electorate voters were very upset. I filed a HAVA complaint because the cast vote records, CVRs, did not match the ballots. There's two HAVA complaints. So basically what happened, here's the distribution of the suspended ballots. If you notice, they have included in that overvotes, what's called overvotes, 22. So what happened was, as Jason pointed out, when those suspended ballots were finally corrected, the 3rd place candidate, Mike Hutchinson, who was eliminated first, who was in 3rd place, he was moved to be the winner over Nick Resnick. And that was a recount, that was through a review, but also a recalculation using the Dominion software. Guess who found out that error? Fair Vote. Fair Vote was not happy in Oakland, California, because their man, Mike Hutchinson, did not win. And they found the error, and they filed a notification to the registered voters. And so, but the recount, an actual audit, was never fully done. They're lying to you when they say a review is an audit. It's really not. And those HAVA complaints were never answered. So the mayor of Oakland race, which you may have heard of, same year, went through the same problems, but they found out that the totals did not affect the election. So Shane Thau famously won the election. Again, I'm going to show you the ballot results. These are the actual candidates. There was 10 candidates. Voters were only allowed to rank 5. That is a violation of the Oakland City Charter. And Oakland has been doing this since 2012. They continue to make these problems, these errors. And we have filed complaints, but they don't listen to us. Round 1, Taylor led by 41,000 votes, over 39,000 to Thurs. Many voters voted for only one candidate, and their ballot was exhausted. Many overvotes were made. So by round 7, Taylor, who led by 48,257 votes, to Thurs' 44,660 votes, it's flipped. So round 8, 60% of Villanova's votes went to Thau. So that lead disappeared. By round 8, Taylor had lost, and by round 9, he had lost by 677 votes. When including all of the errors, which are down at the bottom here, you see blanks, exhausted ballot, overvotes. The non-transferable total is 19,792. When you include these,
So
only
I'm
received
sorry,
40.
Mark, could I have you come back next week? I want to get Judy on because she did the FOIA requests
Right.
for our report, and she has to leave at 12:55. So I hate to
Okay.
cut you off.
Well,
but-
yeah. So there is more information. I was going to come through this very quickly, but yeah, no problems. I could come back and expand on this if you like.
Yeah, that would be great. Yeah, I appreciate it. Sorry for the interruption. Well, before Judy Bennett talks, I would like to, first of all, announce our All-Star Award because it is Judy Bennett. And I had nominated her previously, but I didn't, this wasn't a result of my nomination entirely this time. So every week, you know, we try to recognize a volunteer who's gone above and beyond and has made a difference. And Judy Bennett is the person of the week. And she will be receiving a letter from Michigan Fair Elections and a challenge coin. And before you talk a little bit about the FOIA process, Judy, I wanted to tell you that you are the All-Star Award winner for the week, and thank you. Judy, are you here? I hope we haven't lost you. Are you able to speak and tell us a little bit about the FOIA process? Uh-oh, now I don't have Judy. Well, Judy, if you can unmute, that would be great. I'm not
She's
seeing
off
you.
the call. Yeah,
She's off the call. Oh, she had to leave. Okay, well, all right. She must have had to leave. She said she had to go. So, anyway, we're real pleased with Judy, and really grateful to her. So thank you. And now with that, we can go back to you, Mark, if you don't mind. Thanks for the brief interruption. You're muted though, Mark.
Okay, let me, okay, so can you see my screen again? Okay, so you can see my screen. So jumping ahead, Oakland has been a fiasco for ranked choice voting.
We don't
There's
see
been
your screen.
some.
We're not seeing your screen, unfortunately.
Okay, let me try again. Okay, entire screen. There we go. All right, so boom. All right, so you should see my entire screen.
Yes, we do.
Okay, so there's been some success stories. Oakland has not been a success story. We've tried and tried, and we have not been able to repeal ranked choice voting. Last year, 2023, actually, we joined with the Democrat Party. I'm a Republican, but we joined with Democrats, NAACP, some local activists. And because of the other distractions going on, we were not successful in repealing ranked choice voting. But in Santa Clara County, South Bay, Silicon Valley, this is a screen I want to share with you very quickly. It's a lot of information here, but one of the things that our team did in Santa Clara County was to follow the dark money. So you heard Jason talk about some of the dark money. This is where the dark money is coming from in Santa Clara County, and they're feeding directly to the supervisors at the county, or perhaps what you call the district level. So you probably recognize some of these names. Fair Vote, Cal RCV is actually related to some national organizations, Democracy Fund and the German Marshall Fund. So some of this is international money. So the real results of RCV, I know this is a eye chart. I'm not going to read the whole thing, but the results of ranked choice voting in California are pretty much everything that Jason said. There is nothing instant about the elections. The Oakland race, the school board, as Jason pointed out, it took months to flip. The third place winner became the first. The costs were enormous. Our RCV is calculated. It's not it's counted basically. Your vote is not really counted, it's calculated. It's in a black box. It's almost impossible to audit. We've calculated 276,480 ways to calculate your votes in San Francisco and in Oakland. There are many errors. Ballots are exhausted. It's been used to manipulate elections quite openly, to be honest. The candidates who lost in the first rounds continue, and they often are the losers in the outer rounds. They rarely achieve a majority. Voters are always forced to vote for even people they despise. So if you vote for somebody, I've had family members vote for somebody, number one, who they love, and they put the person they hate number 5. Well, guess what? Their first choice got thrown out, and their fifth choice moved to the first choice, and they just help the person they hate to win. So RCV corrections, complications, the errors, the costs are enormous, and it creates all of this distrust in our government. RCV, lastly, I'll say this, RCV is a lemon. It's a failed experiment that must be repelled or repealed. And how do we do that with lemons, or what should we do? Lessons learned, basically, if you think RCV is not in your city, county, or district, then you are asleep. These activists are highly funded, well paid, and you need to get ahead of them. Okay, even though you're not, I don't think many of you are paid. Some of you might be with some of the organizations, but you should focus on your own situation affecting your own areas of influence. You need to learn to smoosh. Okay, get with your local government and get ahead and teach them why ranked choice voting is bad. Follow the funding, crash their events. We've been very successful in the East Bay, San Francisco, South Bay. We've actually showed up at their events, and it's amazing how we are able to turn that. Learn about their plans and their weaknesses, and get help from Democrats. I know that sounds crazy, but Democrats, a lot of them hate ranked choice voting because they realize it's not a fair process. But also be careful of infiltration. Build your voter base. I think you already know this. Establish your resources. You mentioned that already. Run it like a campaign. Write resolutions. I heard, matter of fact, I'm working with Darlene already to help with some of the resolutions I provided. We in California, at the Republican level, also at the organizational level, resolutions can be written down, and then that organization or that party at the state level, as well as at your local level, can sign a resolution. And in California, I successfully, at the California GOP level and the county levels, we have resolutions. The RNC also passed a resolution to stop ranked choice voting. I'm not sure if you knew that. I did provide these to Darlene as well. So anti-RCV activists must meet with government officials to push back. It's crucial to find out who your government officials are in your areas and meet with them. And so we have a lot of success stories. I didn't go through all of them. Never give up, be patient, and stay active. So anyway, I covered this very quickly. Are there any questions? I could back up if you want on any slide, if you have time.
Go ahead, Sherry.
Thank you, Patrice. Thank you so much, Mark. That is really fascinating, especially coming from California. Very interesting. The organization here that you may know of is Rank My Vote, and the MI is spelled MI, Rank My Vote. So this is the Michigan-based one. Are you aware of that? We're already crashing their meetings and infiltrating. So I was on one of their Zoom trainings this past Sunday afternoon where they were teaching their pitches of what to say to people. So, opening questions and things like that. So we're already doing this. We're trying to be as proactive as we can on this. And thank you so much for your presentation.
Yeah, and I want to say, yes, an incidental, the city of Richmond, which is Contra Costa County north of us, they had a group called Rank the Vote Incorporated here. And what the Patriots did there, they got ahead of the RCV activists. They knew a Measure L was coming onto the ballot. Well, guess what? The Patriots set up their own measure, Measure J, to counter the ranked choice voting measure. And the Measure J won by 58.12%. And they beat out the ranked choice voting. So that going to a top two candidate system is superior to ranked choice voting. And those folks were able to just do that last year. And it was amazing how they did it. And again, if you look at this list of these groups, and I know you have SEIU union in your area, Rank the Vote Incorporated is related to Rank My Vote. Also, Indivisible. Indivisible is a national organization. Braver Angels, Fair Vote. Those are organizations that you need to keep your eye on. So we did have this success story. The dark money that's coming in is amazing. So you need to learn who that is and where it's coming from.
So one of the things that I think is very interesting is that it's people would think of it as being a left or a right issue, but it's not. Both parties will be punished under this, and because it really seems to be being funded by wealthy individuals, perhaps other countries that would like to undermine our elections and take away the visibility that we have into them and the confidence
Yes,
that the
and
public has in them.
And on that note, we were joking earlier, but it's true. What we found is U.S. aid funding is real. It's actually going into California, into these organizations to fund elections, including ranked choice voting. In Alaska, Philip Izon, some of you know Philip. Phil is a friend of mine. He's amazing. He's done that search. We have done it as well. USA, there's through FOIAs, you could find this out. And it's the NGOs are set up and they're using money out of state, out of Michigan to come in and influence your elections. And so unfortunately, they're well funded and they're using our tax dollars, and hopefully DOJ can stop that.
So we're got requests to have a copy of your presentation, if we could please, that would be fantastic. And then also we were got a request for where's the best place to go get information so that we can all have this and present against ranked choice voting. Michigan Fair Elections will have it, but we don't have it yet.
Yeah, so this is my personal slide presentation. A lot of this, what I do is on my own, but I am associated with United Sovereign Americans, California. Some of you may know about USA.
Yes.
I also work with Patriot Force California and election integrity team, Alameda County, California. So I've been doing this since 2019. And where do you go for this slide? I emailed it to Jeff. Please, you're free to share it. We do have an Itaka website, which I provided to Darlene. You can go there to see some of the videos that I've created with our team. We have all sorts of videos and flyers and information. I know you need to create all this stuff yourself. So Itaka website is a good place, or I could just email those to you. So.
Yeah, thank you. I think what we'll do is we'll set up a category in our library right now where we can start posting all the documents so everybody can go to them until we get another website going, which is, imminent actually. So thank you very much,
good.
Mark. We appreciate it very much.
Thank you.
We'll have to have you back. Thanks. All right. So I'm not seeing any other hands unless Sherry, your hand is up. If you've got more, no, okay.
Do you want me to share the 44-second clip?
Oh, yes. So we're going to wrap up the meeting with something that Tracy Owen, our social media person, created. Go ahead with that, Jeff. Thank you.
Oh.
Gotta have sound.
Yeah. Hold on a second.
What we're hopefully gonna
Never.
no, gotta go to the beginning.
You must never allow ranked choice voting to be here. Never. Never. Never allow ranked choice voting. Never. 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 Never allow ranked choice voting. Never. We don't want it. In Michigan, you must never allow ranked choice voting to be here. Never.
There you are.
Thank you. Yep. We'll put that's available too. We need to put together maybe for Friday's a news roundup. We'll put them all in that version, and then we'll pop them into the library too. Does that sound like a plan?
Sounds like a plan.
All right. So Jeff, if you can compile them all and get them to Debbie, that'd be great.
What? Okay. Grump. All right,
Thanks,
will do.
everybody.